Thank you, Mr Speaker. Members in this place and those in the electorate of Newtown that I represent will know that I have spoken many occasions on this chamber, at public meetings and at actions on the street, exposing the scandals and issues around the polluting toll road disaster that is Westconnex. But in the last couple of weeks, even I have been shocked by what has come to light. When a local constituent shared with me a link to Michael West's article entitled "Postmates, State Monopoly Capitalism Fuses Government with Big Business," and I saw what was contained in it, even I was beyond appalled. So much so that I believe it is crucial to spend some time putting it on the record. Here are some of the facts. Goldman Sachs was paid $16.5 million of public money to oversee and facilitate the sale of Westconnex and the Sydney Motorway Corporation, the private company it established in 2014 to build and manage Westconnex. The New South Wales Liberal National Government sold off decades-long toll concessions and 7 separate roads, and also the ownership and control of the further construction and financing of the project to the Sydney Transport Partners in August this year for $9.3 billion. The sale was obviously a bonanza for Transurban, the major partner in the Sydney Transport Partners consortium, which paid for this controlling 51% interest. Goldman Sachs, that's right, wait for it, Goldman Sachs has a $6.2 million investment in Transurban. No. Michael West, in his article, asked the question, was this monumental conflict of interest disclosed? It's unclear. We don't know. Any of you that are listening to this or were aware of this have to start asking, was the government aware of this? Did the Premier know? Did the Treasurer know? Did the Minister for Westconnex? Did the Roads Minister know? Who knew this? As Michael West puts it so simply and so powerfully in his article exposing this connection, and I quote, "If Transurban does well, Goldman Sachs does well. Goldman Sachs does well regardless of how the New South Wales government fares too, as it reaps fees from taxpayers, whatever the outcome. $16.5 million for 11 months of work." This sale to Transurban was described by Michael West as securing the stranglehold of one company over Sydney's toll roads. This latest article is a huge concern, and it is a massive concern to the residents of Newtown that alerted me to it. In the article you will see a massive example, huge examples of the revolving door and the connection between these individuals, between the people involved, and between what is happening here. The New South Wales roads monopoly is now entirely dominated by the private sector and by private sector appointments. I urge you to look into detail at West's article, where he discusses the impact and the connections of the likes of Philip Gardner, the likes of Christopher Swan, people that have revolving door connections between Macquarie Bank, the Sydney Motorway Corporation, the RMS, others that have connections between the former Roads Minister Duncan Gay and now the companies and the organisations that are involved. This is, as we knew from the start, the most outrageous transfer of public money into private hands under the guise of pretending to solve Sydney's congestion problems. The scandals will continue to be exposed. I wish to highlight in exposing those scandals and pay particular acknowledgement to the incredible community members that have stood up and spoken out at the Westconnex hearings that have been going on as part of the inquiry into Westconnex. What we know is that despite all of the outrage and the scandals, that there have been incredibly brave and resilient, determined residents, community activists, local representatives and experts who have made submissions to the Westconnex inquiry, all with the odds stacked against you. They have not given up. And I'd like to particularly acknowledge the residents of the Rozelle Community Panel who gave evidence, Rozelle Against Westconnex and the Northwest Rozelle residents. I'd like to acknowledge the Annandale and Leichhardt Community Panel, the now Annandale and the Sydney Secondary College Leichhardt P&C. I would particularly like to give a shout out to Mary Court, the Penrith Valley Community Union spokesperson, who spoke so passionately about the fact that the Minister for Westconnex own seat in Penrith do not want this polluting toll road disaster either. And we heard from the Beverly Hills North Progress Association, the Haberfield Association, the Haberfield P&C, Newtown Residents Against Westconnex, Alexandria Residents Action Group, Camperdown Residents Against Westconnex, Westconnex, and also acknowledging the incredible contributions that we had from the residents of St Peters, the Westconnex Action Group, and also particularly the moving and really heartbreaking evidence provided by former residents of St Peters who have had their homes taken away by these New South Wales Liberal and national government that are doing nothing but using our money, our public money, to serve their own interests, and it is despicable.